Welcome, Mary. Welcome to the Face of Grand Prairie.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you got to come today.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. I feel famous.
Well, you're on the inaugural episode of the Active Adults Over 55 channel.
Okay,
So
good.
exciting.
Am I supposed to tell if I'm 55 or not?
No, we do not need to know if we are 55.
Okay.
I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting closer.
Yeah, same.
So maybe that's why I have so much interest in it lately, because I'm getting to that point. We're almost going to be to the point where we can go to the summit.
Okay.
I think summit's over 50.
Is that across the lake over
Yes.
here? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're almost there.
Okay.
Well, I am. I don't know about you. But so today, this episode's actually going to be sponsored by myself. These are two companies that I'll talk about that I own. So the first is I'm a seniors real estate specialist here in Grand Prairie through Bancroft Realty. And I've worked almost exclusively with people over 55, mainly with their adult children that are helping their elderly parents handle their estates. And as a part of that, I started Generosity Estate Sales, which is spelled like my name, Jenna, Rocity. And I started that 10 years ago. I didn't intend on starting an estate sale company. It just kind of happened that way. But the two things went so well together that I just kept going. And so you are actually one of my team members, and you are a client of mine as a real estate client like several years ago. So tell everybody who you are and how long you've been working for Generosity.
Okay. Well, I am a staunch believer in both of your businesses because I've been involved with both of them as a customer and then as a partner with you.
Mm-hmm.
You sold us our house in Nottingham about 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I've been a teacher for years and years. And just this past year, kind of felt the need to take a step maybe slower in life, left a teaching job. I didn't expect to do that and was feeling kind of stir crazy, needed something to do. And I had been going to your sales because I love to go to estate sales. I actually found myself gravitating toward finding furnishings and things at estate sales for our house because I thought I would rather find something made in America or something unique or something with a little bit of personality.
And now they're tariff-free.
That's
it's
right.
It's a tariff-free business.
And so rather than something that, you buy that's made in China and you don't expect it to last long. And so I thought, I'll see if Jenna needs help. And so it ended up being just what the doctor ordered. I told somebody there's a lot of kind of sorting and organizing and, enjoying working with Lindsay and Ricky and you and the group, but creating a little bit of order out of chaos sometimes, like opening a box, finding out what's in there, setting things up. And it's also satisfying to help people. So it's been fun.
Yeah, it's an interesting business. I literally had never shopped at an estate sale before I started doing estate sales. Now you, Ricky, Lindsay, Kim, all of y'all have all shopped at estate sales. I never did. So I had no idea, like, how do I charge? What do I do? I don't even know. I remember the first sale that I ever did. It was in 2015. It was as a favor to a friend. And because I had always shown how I'd flip furniture. So I'd find like free furniture on the side of the road and they'd be like, hey, you're always shopping at garage sales and stuff. Have you ever thought about doing an estate sale? I was like, sure, I could do an estate sale. I think I charged $500, which was insanely low for what work you did. And I think I threw so much stuff of it away and I had no idea. But over a period of time, you kind of learn the business, and it is actually a very thriving industry. A lot of people don't talk about it because it's people can do it themselves or you can hire a company, but there's a lot of people that do estate sales throughout the country, and especially with baby boomers retiring and just all the people that are getting rid of all their stuff. I mean, it's hard to think about doing it with an entire house. So I guess the first thing would be, what is an estate sale? For people that don't know or have never been, if you're not a shopper, what is an estate sale?
I would say an estate sale is not a garage sale.
No.
A garage sale, we love to find a garage sale sign on a Saturday and stop, and you find people that just have things that they no longer want and they just want to get rid of it. They've pulled it out in the driveway. They don't want to put it back in at the end of the day. And there's, the fun of bargaining or, finding something you need. An estate sale is different because that's typically where the whole home is being packed up and moved, or things divided among family, or somebody's downsizing. And so it's kind of like just about anything in the house or on the property might be for sale, from, flower pots to tools to collectibles to useful stuff. And so it's kind of a little capsule of somebody's whole entire home that's going to be for sale. So it's just different. You might expect the prices at a garage sale to be really low,
Right.
and at an estate sale, it is just different. You're in someone's home, and it's not so much getting rid of things people don't want, but helping people find new homes for things that don't fit their life anymore.
Sure.
And so
I love the way you put that, because that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's finding a new home for something that you no longer have a use for. And a lot of time, and it's the entire home. It's literally the entire home. And it could be anything in that home. And you mentioned it, like flower pots. We've had people that wanted to buy flowers out of the flower pots before. Like I just had one just recently. They were like, are they selling all those like, someone had noticed there was like an edge, one of those edging kind of flowers, whatever it was. And they were like, are y'all selling any of those clippings? And I was like, I'm sure that they'd let you just take a couple. And so it could literally be anything on the property inside the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would tell people that if you're expecting a garage sale, it's not going to be that. You're going to be a guest in someone's home, and you're going to see, maybe things people collected all their life. I went to one time that I thought, oh, okay, these people went to New York. They traveled to New York and they kept the playbills for all the different shows they went to. So it's very much, there's a kind of respectful sense of being a guest in somebody's home. But being there on the business side of it, you're really helping them as a family take the next step toward, are you downsizing and moving back east, or you're moving somewhere to be closer to your kids, or this was your grandma's house and it's time to sell, or, to meet that need and help them. Because it's a lot to sell a home all at once, pack up and downsize or whatever. And so it is satisfying to help people that are, at a change point in life.
And it's hard, like, because I having done the real estate side and actually helping people sell the house, it's harder for people to sell the stuff inside than it is sometimes to sell the house. It's like, that is where people get stuck, is the stuff, because that's what you're tied to a lot. And so especially if it's the childhood home that you grew up in and you still have things there from when you were a kid, like your furniture that still exists in the upstairs bedroom that nobody has moved out. It's hard for people. And that is something that I think that we do a very good job with, is helping people transition from it's time to move this stuff out to let's get it done so that you can move on to the next side of your life. So maybe we could talk about who would want to do an estate sale. Like, who is the typical customer, if there's a typical customer?
Sure. I think every sale is a little bit different. The last one that I did, and it's funny how many people that come shopping will want to ask about the family.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, again, seeing something like a specific collection of tools or Boy Scout memorabilia or playbills, you can see what the people collected. But in my experience, people almost always ask.
Just checking the levels.
Okay.
I learned my lesson.
People almost always ask about the family. So this past time, this was for a family friend that we were helping out, and she was downsizing to move back to Tennessee to be close to her granddaughter. And so it was kind of a happy thing. There was a lot to move and settle, a lot of moving parts for her. So moving is always stressful, but it was kind of a happy change to get to move back close to her granddaughter. And so there have been plenty of times when somebody inherited their, a family member's house or their grandmother's house, and they're not going to end up living there. And so they're ready to sell, and they do need help figuring out where to start with on kind of emptying the house. And sometimes they're not, when they're looking at everything, they're not sure, is this something that, should I throw it away or should I give it away? And they're just not sure what to do, and it can be overwhelming. So that's where having people like us take you by the hand and say, do not worry, we'll help. You don't have to worry about that. We'll help you.
That's right. And I think you made a good point. It's not always people that have passed on. I think that's one of the things that people assume when they come into an estate sale to shop, is that someone has died. And there's frequently, that's not the case. I mean, it is sometimes, but It's frequent that we're doing downsize sales where they're just trying to get rid of stuff to move into either an over 55 community, or we just did one. The last two that we did, they were moving out of state and just didn't want to take any of that stuff with them. They just didn't need anything. They've got grown kids, that don't want any of that stuff anymore. So it's for anybody that wants to get rid of more than just a garage full of stuff.
Yes.
It's a house. And so, and we have, on special occasions, we will do it for people that actually still live in the home, although that's a little bit more challenging, but we've had a lot of good experiences with that. But for the most part, it's a house that's empty. So someone has given us the key and we enter and we work on it. How long does it usually take to get one of these ready?
Every house is a little bit different. Typically 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. And something that you said kind of nudged my thoughts in a specific direction. The last sale that we did, the family friend I was talking about that moved back east, she began to think about moving, and she began to think about the things that would fit in her new townhome, and then all the other things that she no longer needed. And she just needed advice to start with, because she was thinking herself, well, I could try sell things online, or I could have a garage sale, or she just needed somebody to kind of help her think through the process. And so as we sat down to do that, she started off by saying, I don't want to have a garage sale. They're exhausting. I'm moving in the summer. And anybody who's ever had a garage sale, it can be fun because, people come up to your yard and you meet people, but it's also a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
And so she just said, I do not want to do that. And she said, but some of these, I feel like they might be worth money, or I should sell it online. Maybe. What is that process like? And I told her that is certainly an option, but the reality is you have to take pictures of whatever the thing is, post it onto a page like, eBay or another selling site. And sometimes it can be on there for a number of weeks or more before somebody will buy it. And then you do have to wrap it up safely and mail it to them. So yes, you could make a little bit of money on it, but it does come at a cost. And especially if you're up against a moving timeline where you expect a moving truck and you need to box things up. I kind of said, I don't think you want to try to mess with that when you're moving several states away and you're trying to decide. And I said, it sounds to me like you might need an estate sale. That way, all you have to do is pick what you want to take to Tennessee, leave everything else, and then we'll figure it out for you.
Right.
And so it just ended up being the right fit because she had thought of some of those different options and had decided what she didn't need anymore and what wouldn't fit in the new house. And so I also would say that to people, if you're thinking about maybe there's something that your family had for a long time and you don't want to just, leave it at the curb or even just leave it in a bin and a donation site, and you'd kind of like to see it go to a good home, then I would think that sometimes selling online, especially Facebook Marketplace, I feel like is an option, but I feel like it's always almost like a garage sale. People want a really low price.
Yeah. If they even follow through with buying it in the first place.
Yes.
That's the problem with some of the Facebook Marketplace is great. And we use that as a tool. So if we go into a house, one of the things about organizing an estate sale is that you have to have enough room for people to be able to walk through and see stuff. And so when you walk into a house, I would say, just like what you said, 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on the size of the house and how much stuff is inside. But if you can give the company about that much time to get organized, then what we'll do in the beginning is if the house is too crowded, if there's too much furniture, if it doesn't allow us to move things around to where there's a good flow for people to walk through, we will sell things ahead of time on Facebook Marketplace. And it is a good tool, but there is a learning curve to it if you're trying to sell more than one thing, because sometimes people show up, sometimes they don't, sometimes they're scammers, which I did. That happens frequently. And when you're using Facebook Marketplace a lot, it's a lot easier to identify some of those things. Lindsay is our Facebook Marketplace person for the most part. And we have used eBay. When I sold a lot of uranium glass, we had one house that had a lot of uranium glass, which for those that don't know what that is, it's just a type of glass that was made in the Depression era that glows green if you put it under a UV light. It's become a very hot commodity these days. And so we were trying to get, and we had a lot of pieces. So we used eBay as a way to see, okay, what are we going to price this as? And is it better to sell it online? Are we going to get a better price online? Or are we going to get a better price in person? So we do use eBay and some of those things as tools, but for the most part, we're trying to figure out, engage, how do you get people to this house that are going to want to buy these items and get them out of the house? But for Facebook Marketplace, it's great to get stuff out of the way. Mm-hmm. We'll do that with furniture to kind of create some room.
And the difference with that is when somebody like Lindsay and Ricky and I are there handling that as part of a workday at the sale, then that may be the platform that we're using to create, if we need more room to set up tables or shelves. But if you imagine yourself trying to handle that transaction, posting the pictures, finding a price that's right, sifting through replies that you might get or questions, maybe somebody not coming, and you multiply that times 100 or however many things, that's when you would say, I wish I had called them to do this for me, because the money just doesn't seem worth it.
It's not right. Exactly. Yeah. So like kind of leading up to an estate sale, people get hung up. Like you mentioned earlier, when she needed a little bit of guidance for, okay, I have all this stuff that I know needs to go. When you're looking at it and you have no clue where the next step is, that's where people get stuck. And what happens is people get stuck in that step for months. I've seen people stuck in that step for 3 years. It's like they don't know what to do, so they just let it sit. And it's like, I'm even going to go over to the house because I don't know what to do with any of this stuff. And if you don't know that an estate sale company exists, it's like, I'm going to have to do all this myself. But it's like, that's what we want to try to help with, is like, okay, what is the first step? And the first step really is to call a professional. Really, it is. I say that even though we're the professionals that we would love for you to call, being able to take that next step into moving on is hugely important for families. And what ends up happening a lot in families is there'll be one sibling that's left to deal with everything, because maybe they live the closest and all the other siblings live far away. And it becomes a burden. It's a huge burden, and they don't know where to go next. So before you spend tons of time thinking through all these options, just call a professional. Even if we're not close to you, try to figure out an estate sale company that's close to you. Call your local real estate agents. Say, hey, do you have any estate sale companies that you can provide? And just have them come over and give them your opinion, because we will help consult in that beginning stage. And I think that's really important, because I think people spend a lot of time thinking it through, but also might do things that are counterproductive to when an estate sale company actually comes in. So maybe we could talk about that. Like, if you're thinking about doing an estate sale, what are some things that they could do to get ready, and things that might not be very helpful that they might think are helpful?
I would, I'm afraid I'm going to forget to tell a story that I want to tell you, but can I tell a story?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the sale that we did in Albany, my hometown, this was for a family friend. My kids had a summer job there, and it just worked out for me to go and help a family friend through the company to do a sale for her. And then I got to be there to help my parents out. My dad was having his knee replaced. And so it just kind of worked out for me to be there. And my sister and I were working on it while we were there. A week or two before the sale, we saw a sign for an estate sale there in town. And I said, this is a one-horse town. There's hardly ever an estate sale. And so she and I went to go check it out. And what we found was this sweet lady whose mother lived there in town. But this is a small town, a little bit in the middle of nowhere. The kids, one of them lived in California and the other one in a town over 2 hours away. And so the daughter knew that she's the one that needed to do the heavy lifting on to, kind of break up the household and get the house ready to sell. And she asked a local realtor about, is there an estate sale company there in town? And maybe she maybe should have just opened her radius of where to find a company. Even 30 minutes away at the next biggest town might have been a company that could do that for her. But, nothing presented itself at the time. So she rolled up her sleeves and got to work taking care of that sale. But it took her months to do it. And my heart bled for her a little bit, because she just had worked her fingers to the bone, and she did the sale herself as well. But she was commuting back and forth between this little town and Stephenville over a course of a few months to do all the work to get it ready. And then she said, I was up until 4 a.m. the night before, still trying to price stuff. And then she said, I ended up throwing so much stuff away because I just couldn't get to pricing it. And there was still stuff in the attic that she hadn't priced. She did the best she could.
Right.
And I said, well, let me put my arm around you. And I work for an estate sale company, so tell me all about it. And after the conversation, I said, well, how did you do? You know, you had a 3-day sale. It's the very last day. And she told me how much money she made. And I thought, you know what? You worked so hard. You did this for your mom's house. It's a job well done. But in the back of my mind, I thought if she had somebody like us.
She made a lot of money, actually.
She did. She did well. And I thought, but with the way that the numbers work, I think people sometimes are thinking if I do it myself, I won't have to give a percentage away. Mm-hmm. But with the way her sale went, I knew automatically that if she had had a team like what we have to handle that sale for her, she would have made the same amount, if not more, but without any of the commuting back and forth and without any of the work or staying up so late and just for her to do the heavy lifting on her own. Because I knew my sister bought some stuff from the sale. I knew how she had priced it. And I thought 25 cents is a garage sale price.
Right.
The thing my sister bought was worth more. And I think my sister actually paid her more and told her this is, I think more so the price. But so it is hard to do it on your own.
It is.
And so
you forget things like cabinets. Like literally you're so overwhelmed. It's like how you said she couldn't get to the attic. Mm-hmm. You have this goal in your head and you're like, okay, I mean, even us, we have to go through several times to make sure we don't forget things, but those are all things that could have sold and that didn't sell. And more so than anything, it's like, okay, she could have made this much money, but she could have probably gotten rid of a lot more stuff. And the whole goal is to get rid of the stuff,
right?
And so she did surprisingly well. I think you said she did like a little over 8,000 or something like that. But if she'd have used a company, which small towns have their own challenges because, and we've talked about this before, there's an opportunity there to really provide some estate sale services in some of these smaller towns. But in DFW, there's plenty of companies that you could possibly choose. And whether they're available is depending on how far in advance you book them. If you wait to the last minute, it's going to be a lot harder to find somebody.
Yeah.
But she probably could have made double, if not triple, probably what she would have made. And she would not have had to do any of the work.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. And so maybe talk about that a little bit. Like, how do we price? So you said quarter. We stopped doing quarter prices a long time ago. Yeah. We don't do anything less than $1, just FYI. So anything that's like, if it seems like something that would be less than $1, we'll group it with something else.
Right.
But yeah, quarters, no, we don't mess around with that anymore.
No, the whole point also is for these things to find a home. And so when somebody comes and gets a great bargain on a chair, something that they wanted, like that will complete my dining room. This is great. Everybody wins.
Right.
And so you want the prices to be friendly, but then at the end of the day, all those friendly priced items add up and the homeowner has that weight lifted off their shoulders with, everything having been taken home to new homes. And then they didn't have to physically do it themselves. Something else I wanted to say when you mentioned it's one thing to be in a small town and trying to find a connection of who could help me with this house. But it's when you're in the big city, if you look online on something like estatesales.net, where you can put the map and look and just see how many sales are in a city of this size, I would just tell people asking, especially, I didn't think about this ever as a shopper because I'm an honest Christian person and I would have never put something in my pocket that I didn't pay for.
Right.
And so, but you are having a bunch of people come into your home. And so it's good having people there that you trust who are watching over the house for you. But working in an office to go and clean out, file cabinet. Lindsay and I have come across where somebody had written down their kids' social security numbers. And I thought, you want somebody, number one, with integrity, who when they come across some kind of sensitive personal information or a bank statement, can either take and save and give that to the family or shred it. But I thought, what if somebody's just careless in their work and they're not meticulous and they leave something like that, such that any number of the hundreds of people that come to shop and look around can then pick that up and take it. And so I just would say, do a little bit of homework or ask people that you trust when you're finding a company that you want people that have attention to detail and with honesty and integrity, so that they can take care of those little things for you that maybe you're not even thinking of, but that you have people watching out for you.
Yeah. We just did one recently, who the dad hid money all over the house, like cash everywhere. And this happens a lot when you have people that have dementia. He did not have dementia. He had always done that. But people with dementia usually do either lose or hide valuables. And like the second one I ever did, I think he told me, she had all this really expensive jewelry, and these were not items that they wanted to sell. These were items that they wanted to keep within the family. And he said, if you see anything laying on the floor underneath the dresser or inside of a dresser drawer that looks like it's expensive, could you just give it back to me? And, as an estate sale provider, you have an opportunity there, because I could have found something and not ever said that I found anything, which I didn't find anything in that particular house. Or you have somebody that's going to be like, here you go.
Yeah.
And that's not going to expect you to split it with them or, anything like that. So we come across a lot of checkbooks, IDs, social security cards, money. And so if we find any of that, that is something that we give back to the homeowner, especially if they say, be on the lookout for 20s, because dad loved to put 20s in books and all these things. We feel that it's not our job to keep money just because we found it. Like that belongs to your family. Yeah. So
it feels really good to be able to give that, because they're trusting you to be there as a guest also in their home. And so again, the sense of helping people through, what can be complicated or difficult time, when you're doing something little like that brings a little bit of a sigh of relief, then it feels good to do that too.
Yeah.
So I would just say, as you're selecting companies to, I don't think the yellow pages exist anymore, but when you're kind of looking around, it's good to try to find, if you can find a personal recommendation like that, so that you just have total confidence. It's one more good check on the pro list.
And especially in Grand Prairie, I mean, basically every single sale we ever get is by word of mouth or referral. And I've grown up in this town. My mother would kill me if I had a reputation for not being honest with people about stuff. So definitely using somebody in your hometown is always the best if that's the option is available. But when people go to get ready for a sale, it reminded me of Cheryl, who I'm sure would be totally fine with us talking about how she, trying to find all that cash that dad had left. That was part of her preparation process, was to try to go through places she knew that dad hid money to try to find it. But kind of going along the same lines of what people can do to prepare, I think what I would tell people is, don't throw things away if you don't, because people spend a lot of time throwing things out that they think are trash, but really aren't.
Right.
And so I think that if you're going to spend any time getting a house ready for a sale, it's going to be, make sure that all the pest control is taken care of. Because some of these houses, nobody's lived in them for a long time. Go through and make sure that is the place treated for bugs? Have you gone through and made sure all the wasp nests are, busted down outside so people need to shop? Have you replaced all the light bulbs in your house to make sure that we can see things?
That's a big one, because people are coming to shop. And so Lindsay and I have screwed in many a light bulb.
Yeah.
Because we thought people can't see.
Right.
We need them to be able to see.
Yes. And that's dusting dusting things like the ceiling fans and the blinds. Because again, a lot of these houses have sat empty. Either mom has moved into, one of the kids' houses, or they've moved into an assisted living, or they've been passed away and nobody's really been over there. Some of the cleanliness stuff is really where I would focus my energy if I was doing an estate sale, because that way when we get in there, we're not spending our time having to do cleaning. And so sweep, that kind of thing. Make sure that all the light bulbs are replaced. Spend that time, and then don't throw anything away. And we could talk about that for a minute, because one man's trash is literally another man's treasure. Now, if it's garbage, like literally like a Snickers wrapper or something, yes, that's trash. But if it's something that your opinion is that nobody would want this, we can talk about that a little bit. Like our preconceived ideas about what has value versus what other people think have value. So don't throw anything away until after the estate sale company comes in and does a consultation with you.
Yes.
So is there any surprising thing that you have seen sold that you did not think anybody would buy?
Sure. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you want to find industrious, motivated helpers, workers who are there to really help empty the house out to get, to get it ready to sell. But then you also, at the end of the day, people like us, we're wanting the person to be really happy with the check that they get after the sale is done. And so that kind of comes from leaving no stone unturned. And so let's see.
I'll tell a story. Lindsay's going to love this because I'm going to clip it and send it to her because I've told the story every single time I get a chance. And she always, now at this point, she just rolls her eyes and giggles. When she came in to first started doing estate sales for me, it was her first time. And she did what I did. I mean, literally whenever I started, I threw away probably 500 National Geographic magazines thinking nobody would buy these, which was so stupid because everybody would buy National Geographic. Now I threw them all away. And so I've been there like everybody does. And I remember there was these lapel pins and it was, he was a previous city manager for the city of Grand Prairie. So he had all these lapel pins that they give you at conventions and stuff. I mean, it says city of Grand Prairie and keep Grand Prairie beautiful and things that you wouldn't think anybody would want. She goes, can we just toss these? Because I don't think anybody, I mean, literally there was probably like 75 of them in this bag. And I said, no, let's put them on an index card and we'll sell them for like $3 or $4. And she's like, nobody's going to buy these for $3 or $4. I said, we'll see. And it was the first thing on the first day to go. For $3 or $4, someone came in and bought all of those lapel pins and she was shocked. So from that point forward, she's like, never take anything for granted, that you just do not know what people find a value. And I mean, even things like yearbooks, trophies, plaques with names on them. You're like, why would you want this? But it's not my
people are creative. They
They
have
are.
an idea for repurposing that they have that is an idea that you never came up with. And so it's good to be able to, of course, family will go through and take, that was my little league trophy. I'm going to keep that. But then, if there's something else, the whole idea is that you take what you want to keep with you and then let us take a look at the rest and tell you. I'm a very, very practical person. And so I may go and find and say, that's a really pretty lamp. I need something from my bedside table. I'm going to take that. But then I might also see, although one thing I love to buy at estate sales are those aluminum kind of throwaway containers. And I don't know if the last time you bought one at the grocery store, but when you see how much they are, I've thought if they're two for $1 at the estate sale, or you might get a stack of them. I'm always on the lookout for something like that because of how expensive things can be at the store. So the last sale we were at, Lindsay actually had a really good idea. We had this, the shoe organizers that hang over a door that have the little pockets. And there were all kinds of different useful things that were like toothbrushes, new in the box. All kinds of a new thing of mouthwash that had never been opened. And you were thinking, it's not expired. It's perfectly good. And when you think about how much things cost, I, for one, get excited about paying $1 for something like that instead of $6.99 or $8.99 at the store. And so people come up and they might have like a knickknack or something decorative or a piece of art in one hand and a couple rolls of paper towels in the other.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They want to pay less for that too. And so I would just tell people, if you have eaten something and there's an empty pizza box, that's trash. But when it comes to anything else in the house, let us help you sort through that, because we've been the ones that have seen what all
people will buy. Yes.
And you want it to sell.
Yes. I mean, I did one, I don't think any of y'all had started working with me yet, but he was a dentist, literally drawers of unopened toothbrushes. And I was like, this is crazy. So what I ended up doing was giving them away to the kids that would come. I'd be like, hey, because I knew that he would have appreciated that, to give away a toothbrush. So it's really interesting, the types of things that we come across. Now, used toothbrushes, not so much. But then again, someone might be using that to clean. We don't know what people are using. Someone came in the last time that we had a sale and asked if we just threw away any non-working watches. And I said, we don't ever throw anything away. She goes, well, I'm doing a mosaic. And she was using the watch, the actual watch itself, not the band. And she was making art out of it. I said, that's exactly why we don't throw anything away, because we don't know what someone's going to use it for. Right. Even the thing that we think that they might use it for is not always what people might use it for. Some kid might want to mess around with that watch because they're really into engineering and they've started realizing how the gears work. We don't know. So that's why we don't ever take for granted what someone else might find valuable. And we do try to price where it's not like someone might get the highest amount for it that you might get if you let it sit on eBay for a year.
Mm-hmm.
We always try to get as much as we possibly can, but also understanding that what we're trying to do is get the most for a client at the end of the sale with also getting rid of the stuff that's at the sale. So I think that we've come across a really good pricing model. We have a really good strategy and we have very efficient ways of doing that. So one of the things that when people try to do it themselves is using price tags. We don't use price tags. We use different colors of tape and we do color coding of prices because price tags fall off. Just FYI. I mean, especially if you buy ones that have been sitting on the Walmart shelf for a really long time and they've lost their adhesive. So we can do something a lot faster than you can by using price tags. And so we are able to get the job done a lot more efficiently. And also we have the shelves and the tables and all the things that we need to actually do that. So that's another reason to use an estate sale company. We'll bring in all of the tools that we need. You don't have to buy tables. You don't have to buy, price tags, which are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
They are. You don't have to worry about setting up a square so that you can take credit cards. Like we do all that stuff for you and we advertise it. That's the biggest part is like, okay, you've done all this work. Now who's going to see it? So we do estatesales.net. We use that for a lot of our advertising. You are amazing at writing descriptive, descriptors of all of our sales. Yes. You're very creative when it comes to that. I guess, is there any other piece of like advice that you've heard or people that have said, I wish I'd have known this before I started? Has anybody ever said that to you?
Yes. I think sometimes people that we've met will have, it's out of a good place in their heart that they want to be as helpful as they can to the people coming to do the sale. And you might find that they, again, have thought, I need to, almost like the way that you would clean your house before the housekeeper comes.
Yes. That's such a good way of explaining it.
So, just let us come talk to you first and take a look around together. And then we'll help you. Even if it's a nudge of like, all you need to do are wash these pots and pans or make sure that the light switches turn on with light bulbs. Because they may be thinking there are 100 things I need to do rather than, no, actually there are only 5 things you need to do.
Yes.
And so
that's a very good point.
Yeah. And so, when they're maybe cleaning up before we come, that's when things might be thrown out that absolutely will sell at a sale. And we don't want that to happen. And so there may be a collector out there who would love to have bought that. And so that's one thing that we see, but also sometimes people, put effort into trying to pre-price a little bit. I've had that happen where somebody has, and I know that they were trying to be helpful to us, but again, that's what we do for a living. And it's a sad day if we come across something that we just don't know what it is or how to price it. We will find out. But most things, we have really good knowledge of what something is and how much it should sell for and what it realistically sells well, finding that sweet spot of pricing so that it's a bargain for a shopper, but also makes the most for the sale possible. So when you're trying to pack and move or close on a house and buy your new house and all of that, you don't need to try to do the pricing for us. That's our job that we do for you. And so you don't have to do that either. And what else can we release people from doing?
I think that that's actually a really good point to make. People sometimes get really stuck on price points. It's really funny because people either undervalue or overvalue. Like I'll say, how much do you think this, like, what do you think this table is worth? I'd be happy if someone took it for $5. Well, no, it's worth more than $5. Like, is there any story with it or whatever? And then you have the people that are like, oh, dad hand carved this out of elm wood from the back of our, and it's definitely worth at least $5,000. And you're like, it's probably not worth that much either. And so people don't always have a very good idea of value. Now, most people we come across don't really care what you price it at. They just want it to sell at whatever it's going to sell for. So I think that's something that we could talk about a little bit is like when because everybody has their things in their house that they feel like are worth a lot of money. It's maybe their Hummels or their collector plates or whatever it might be, where maybe at one point in time it was worth a lot more than it might be worth now. But I think that we should talk about what things are worth and really what things are worth is what a buyer is willing to pay for them in this 3-day period of time right now. We have had it happen before where things have not sold at one sale, literally have not sold at all. We've moved it to a different sale to see if they'll sell, and all of them sell the first day. So the value is so weird, and it depends on the house. It depends on the time of year. Like Christmas things might be worth a little bit more when you get closer to the holidays. But don't worry too much about individual items value. Worry about if you're the one that's hiring a company, don't worry about what that plate's going to go for. Just think about how much you're going to make total. But the value and what we price it on sometimes can be kind of like a guess. I mean, we kind of know, but sometimes things surprise us too, which is kind of interesting.
Well, and the market will drive things as well. If you ever watched Antiques Roadshow, I love to watch Antiques Roadshow, but you have professional appraisers there that are telling somebody in a retail market it would sell for this much. If you're having it, in consideration for insurance purposes for value, it should be this much. And then oftentimes they'll revisit little clips, and there'll be an arrow at the end, either up or down, showing you, hey, this actually is worth more now. It has appreciated, or this is worth a little less now, or that the numbers are staying basically the same. And so that, just like things can come into fashion with clothing.
Oh yeah.
There are things that become collectible for, in the antique marketplace, or when it comes to collectibles and things like that all of a sudden something is very, very popular. The uranium glass that you mentioned is, probably 20 years ago or maybe more, I don't know that it was so collectible. And some of the other colors of depression glass, the pink and blue, are not as collectible, but the green ones that glow, people really like them.
Yes.
And then,
especially now that you can get a lamp. See, this is the thing. It's like uranium glass requires a UV light. Okay. How many people had black lights just laying around their house? Well, in the 90s, everybody did, but like in 2019, not so much. Then they started making little bitty lights that you could buy off Amazon for like $8. And they started doing that because people were going around and identifying uranium glass. It became more easy to find because you have to actually have that light shining on it, or else you might just think it's green glass or whatever. Then all of a sudden it got popular. Matter of fact, I had a guy that came into that sale and he said, "Oh, I've got a warehouse full of uranium glass." He's like, 10 years ago, you couldn't get people to take it. And now it's like, now what people are doing is there's a whole Instagram trend of showing your uranium glass china cabinets where people will replace the regular lights that normally go into the china cabinets with black lights, and then put all their different types of plates and stuff in there. And that's their showpiece in their room. And then once people started doing that, uranium glass got popular again. It's just crazy.
Somebody somewhere has decided, I'm going to do a full place setting of all uranium glass and have a dinner party that's glow in the dark dinner party. So yeah, it's interesting. Another thing that I've noticed that's really popular with collectors now are those really long glass vases that were popular, I think, in the 70s.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, things kind of cycle through. Things
They
from
do.
the 70s will become cherished again. And right now, people getting close to the 50-year age mark are people that were in high school in the 1990s. And so there's a nostalgia for things from the 1990s again. You see it with clothing and
big time.
Different items. And so
physical copies of DVDs. Back in 2003, I think it was PlayStation or one of the game stations where you could actually purchase like digital copies of movies. All of their libraries got wiped out. And it's like, now what do? You had all these movies that you bought, and because someone decided to get rid of them all. So everybody started realizing how easily it is to lose a bunch of these streaming things. Or you're going to watch a movie and you can't find it on any of the streaming channels because nobody has it. It's like, so then all of a sudden having physical copies of CDs and DVDs and stuff got real popular again. So now we price each one of those individually because we'll have people that come in and buy the entire library. DVD players, VHS players, all that stuff. Disney movies have always been popular in terms of like the VHSs because they would put out those special, collector's editions and stuff. But people are starting to buy that again. That's a whole trend. Yeah. So, and records have always been popular too, but now they're putting out songs in record form again, which is crazy.
Well, maybe there's been a little bit of a turn in the tide with culture where um, shopping malls that everybody wanted to go to the mall in the 90s. Well, people want to go to Main Street now, or to a quirky booth or a little shop that has unique things. And so I think I always have fun if I go to a sale myself and to see young people that are coming
Oh,
to look at
yes.
like things that we grew up with, record players and vinyl records and things like that. And so it is neat for there to be, I mean, that's kind of a basic form of recycling that like
Yes.
this turntable is works perfectly well, and somebody would love to have that and play records instead of just downloading, digital music, because there's
Yes.
that little crackle that you hear when the vinyl is playing.
Yep.
And so it is really neat to see things like that people bring back to their home. And that's what's satisfying also about, having young people come in and they want uh, you know your uncle's radio that he didn't want anymore, and that was kind of technologically out of fashion for a while.
Yep.
And so again, people like us are generally going to know. I may not know every specific thing about, because there are all kinds of different kind of subcategories of collecting that people can be experts in.
Yes.
But our job is
That's
to
that's
have
a good
general
point.
knowledge.
Yes,
Yeah.
general knowledge for sure. And we do have groups of resellers that will come to our sales, and we do have professionals. So, like one of the things with books, if your house has a lot of books, books are kind of known for not selling very well. But if you have to have the right buyer for them. So, like we have a book dealer that'll come in and look through all the stuff and price and see if there's anything that's of value. It's kind of shocking some of the books, like the amount of money people spend. If you have any of those community cookbooks, people love community cookbooks, and they'll go, like if your church put one out, like they just love them, especially older ones. So we'll have people that come in and do that. Jewelry, we'll take it to a gold and silver dealer to see if there's anything real that you might not even realize. Because especially if you're a family member that doesn't know everything that your mom or dad owned, you don't know what's real, what's not real when it comes to gold and silver. Coin collections. We can even sell firearms for you. And so the way that we do it in Texas is we use, like we'll get somebody that is in town that is a firearms dealer. The last sale that we did, there was probably like 10 guns, and we had the firearms dealers actually shopping at the sale. So he came by and he can actually transfer gun ownership for a short, for a very small amount of money. But we can sell all those things. The only thing that we really can't sell is liquor. So we can give it away if we want to. So if you're going to have an estate sale and you have a lot of liquor, just have a party and then give away the bottles to your friends and family.
Yeah.
But we don't have a liquor license. I guess if we did, we could, but we don't. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess and we're talking a lot because I get really passionate about this kind of stuff. When it comes to actually hiring a company, we take a percentage of what the sale makes. So you should not have to pay anyone in advance to do an estate sale for you. We do not do a deposit or anything like that. We do have a contract that has terms. A lot of the reason we have a contract is to help the family get on the same page as far as like when you're going to have the sale and what to do with the sale when the stuff's left over. But you'll do a percentage. That's how all estate sale companies do it. So we'll make the money for the sale, and then we'll send you your proceeds. It's very easy. And that's kind of how an estate sale company works. So if anybody's asking you for a deposit or to say, or a really high amount of money where you're like, it's possible you couldn't make anything, you might want to consider hiring someone else or, that kind of thing. So, and what people think that is going to make them a lot of money is the furniture. But what really makes an estate sale is the tchotchkes. It's the $1 and $2 items that just really add up. It's the lapel pins that you could sell for $3 and they're 75 of them.
Some people call them whatnots. Some people call them knickknacks. You call them tchotchkes.
Yeah.
But it is little things or useful things that people will end up, taking a cake pan out of the kitchen because they didn't have a tube pan or a bundt pan.
Half empty bottles of perfume that are like maybe really high end perfumes that people love buying that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Nail polish. It's crazy stuff, but and we don't sell medication. So if you have any prescription medication, that's something that you could do to get the house prepared. Go through, make sure that you're throwing away any prescription medications that your mom might have laying around, expired medication. Get rid of all the food in your kitchen. We don't want to, if you have anything that's like unperishable, that you could donate to a food pantry, go take care of that. Anything else that's open, just toss it in the trash. Hey, Claudia, she's from the Chamber of Commerce. So good to see ya. She always looks so nice. This is what I love about recording here. People just get to walk
It's a
by.
little fishbowl. Yeah.
It is. It is. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to add that we didn't talk about? We could probably do a whole nother episode, honestly.
Let's see. If you've never gone to an estate sale, you should go.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
You're missing out if you haven't gone. Yeah. I'd love to go to an estate sale, and I would recommend that you do that if it's you're figuring out that you have, well, I have a unique circumstance, but I might need a sale. I'm not sure. Let one of us help you think through it and find out what would be the best way to go.
And you can find us on mygenerosityestatesales.com. It's spelled Jenna like my name, Jenna Rocity. And I'll leave a link in the description of the video. And we have a thing on there that says, I want to have a sale. You can fill out a form, and we ask questions like, how big is the house? Is it 2 stories? What are some of the items that are in there? Do you have ownership of the house? We want to make sure that the people that we're working for are actually the people that own the stuff. Because I mean, sometimes if you're going through probate and there's a bunch of things, we want to make sure that, has this gone through a judge's eyes? Is there anything that we need to know about dividing up the property, like anything like that? And then you'll just give us the basic, who's the person that's going to be the point runner, who in the family are we going to talk to, what's their name, what's their telephone number, all that stuff. So if you want to go to our website, you can put that in, and then we can kind of have a little consultation. We might just do that over the phone just to kind of chit chat. And sometimes it might take a little bit of time. We have one specific situation right now where people are still living in the house, but they want to get rid of a lot of stuff in a storage unit. And so it's kind of problem solving. Like, how are we going to do this and still be able, and sometimes if we can do it, we'll do it. If we can't, then we can't, but definitely reach out to us, and we can kind of go from there. So
I think we did a good job though of, like, number one, don't do our job for us. Like, let us do the work for you. That's the whole point. That's why you get us to help you out. And then I don't know, having some like helping hand there that you can trust can really streamline a process that seems so huge, when actually you just need to kind of put one foot in front of the other and just check off your own little checklist and not be overwhelmed by the whole process around you. And
we can do that a lot faster because we do it all the time.
Yeah, all the time. And we like helping people. And so
what's chaotic to us is when we walk in and it's like immediately my brain starts to work, and it's like, okay, we can move this corner. All the stuff over here is this particular thing. We can move it. So it's like, to other people, it's like, to us, it's like, okay, let's get started.
Yeah. And it is. I like arranging your grandma's pots and pans in the kitchen so that people see the pictures of them and can't wait to show up on Saturday and come buy that, because it's an iron skillet, and the old ones are better than the new ones.
Yeah.
And so it's a trip down memory lane in the best way. So I say go to a sale. It's educational. Sometimes when you go through, you find out just how many things used to be made in America, all kinds of things.
Oh, yes. And
you realize even really up through the 1990s, you can see we really made a lot of our own things.
Yes.
And it's when you are kind of helping sort through prior generations or prior decades of things, you end up seeing, oh, this was made in Italy. This was made in Denmark. This was made in Germany.
And appliances are a big one. We can, if you have a clean refrigerator that was made in 2000 or in like 1985 that still works, people love buying that kind of stuff.
And they will run till the end of time.
Yes, they will. They will run forever. If you have the washing machines and all those things, like they really do last a long time. Yeah. So, don't ever discount some of those older things. Yeah. I think we're getting back to that. Yeah. And the other thing too that people are doing now is starting to learn how to use sewing machines again. So it's like, we were just talking about this the other day. Even these older pieces of clothing, like, material's not cheap. So it's like what some of these kids are doing, some of these younger kids, is taking apart some of these outfits, using it for fabric, and then repurposing them into different types of fashion. That you can do that kind of stuff when you have things like Instagram. Influencers make a huge difference with what is popular to buy. So if you have somebody that's really made a huge, Instagram account about repurposing clothes, you'd be shocked at how much that affects people's ability, the shoppers that want to come in and find all that stuff. So it's quite interesting to see.
Yeah. And I would say there's so many happy endings. There was about the pink sewing machine
Oh, yes.
from
Yes.
earlier this
I'll
spring.
post a picture of it.
Okay. I had never seen a sewing machine like this. It was pink with chrome. It was
gorgeous.
It was a blast from the past.
Yes.
It was kind of a 50s looking sewing machine. And all the little accoutrements and working parts and replacement parts were all there. It was so well kept. And the first day, it was a rainy day of that, the first day of that sale. And there was a young lady, very young lady, who came at the end of the day, and she got off work and came hoping that that sewing machine would be there. And she wanted it because some older ladies at her church had been teaching her how to sew. And she wanted that sewing machine in particular because she could see from the pictures that there was now I'm not a seamstress, so I didn't know, but she said there's a ruffle foot attachment. And she was learning how to sew ruffles onto something. And so she was so happy to get that sewing machine. We plugged it in and could see the needle go up and down. And so I thought that's neat to see your aunt's or your grandmother's sewing machine that she took such good care of, that now this young person teaching herself how to sew is going to use it to train herself how to sew ruffles because she wants to learn how to sew too. And so there is kind of that, there's a little bit more of thought swinging back to something homespun or something. Let's not just be consumers, but keep and reuse and fix. And I think that's exciting to see. And there's some virtue there at the bottom of that. And
being able to tell our clients who bought that.
Yeah.
Like that's always been one of my favorite things, is being able to tell clients, it's a young couple. They just got married 6 months ago. They've been looking for a dining room table and chairs. And now the thing that y'all ate on, they get to eat on and start a new family with it. There's a huge bookend piece of that, but it's also the reason why people should really take care of their stuff. If you really take care of your stuff, then it can have another life with a new family. And it's truly it's a huge blessing to be able to tell a client stories like that. See, I think that China is going to make a comeback, and it already kind of is. Like just formal place settings and having
Don't
tea.
save it for a special occasion. Just use it.
Just use
it's
it.
Meant to be used.
Yes, exactly. Maybe we need to come back every month and talk about some of the trends that we're seeing in resales. That'd be kind of neat.
Okay.
That'd be kind of cool. So, So if anybody has any questions, post it on this episode. Like, what are questions we can answer? And maybe we'll come back and do that. That'd be actually a really cool idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be on the lookout for what's the next big
what's
thing.
trending. Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks, Mary, for taking your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Even though I hope you didn't feel forced, even though, it's me.
No, I was excited.
Good.
I might be famous. I felt famous sitting at the microphone, but you never know.
All right. Well, thank you so much.